Welcome to the BitGeek podcast. I'm your host, Ron Avis, and sitting with me on the couch today is the king of fighters himself,
Nick Wright.
And today we're going old school, man. We're trading controllers for dice and spinners. We're going to be talking about our top 10 favorite board games. So Nick, we're going a little different this time. Rather than doing our top 10 like video games or toys like we've done in the past, we're going to go a little bit back in time and talk about a topic that is, really goes way, way back. Farther back than our fathers' fathers. And board games have been around for a long time. and some of these games on our list are timeless.
Yeah, so I guess these are like the games that we would play if the electricity was out.
Yeah, I think about board games, and what I think about is I was pretty young when I played them. There's so many things that compete with board games nowadays. Yeah. You got the internet for starters. Yeah. You got video games, all the different video game systems. Board games, though, it's still a thing.
Oh yeah.
If you go
definitely.
if you go to Toys R Us or any department store in the toy aisle, there's still a pretty big section dedicated to board games. And the classics are all represented in one way or another. And you got a lot of your gimmicky type games, or even games that are geared toward adults, like Cards Against Humanity.
Yeah, Cards Against Humanity, but you also have like those real just intense, like kind of tabletop games with, like Dungeons and Dragons. But because we've got a friend Colin. He's
like Warhammer, or is that what it's called?
I don't know. I don't, because I don't really play them. Yeah. But he just they're expensive.
The little miniatures, like, and you can paint them.
Yeah, that's. But yeah, I'm more. I played like the kids board games back in the day, like Candyland. Yeah,
Shoots and Ladders. That's not in my top 5, but
yeah, it wasn't actually what I included, but it was like the first one that popped in there.
Shout out to Hi Ho Cheerio, right? Yeah. Barrel full of monkeys.
So I guess on that note, just move right into.
Yeah, these are our favorite board games, and I think I started out last time, so do the honors this time.
Yeah, so these are what I kind of remember growing up, but and one that just vivid memory we used to play as a family growing up is this board game called Aggravation, and I don't really think there was much to it. It was basically just everybody had these colored marbles, and you had like maybe 4 or 5 marbles that you'd roll the dice, and you just have whatever you rolled. You
move
around the board until you got them all home, basically. But what really, really stands out, there's a story behind this game.
Okay.
Because what really stands out about this game is, for whatever reason, when I was a kid, I'm screwing around, whatever. And, we're not even playing the board game at the time, but for whatever reason, I had the marbles out, and I'm playing with the marbles.
That sounds kind of dirty. Sorry, go ahead.
And so I wish you hadn't have said that, because it gets worse from there. So I've got a marble in my mouth. I'm laying on my bed.
I'm sorry. Please continue.
Yeah, so, kids doing what kids do. And, so I'm, like, shooting this marble, like, out of my mouth. And I'm catching it again, like, in my mouth.
While you're laying on your back?
Yeah, I'm lying on my bed. And I'm just, shooting it out and catching it. And I'm just repeating this, right?
Oh, man.
Well, finally, one of them goes... and so I'm, like, choking on this marble. And, I think I'm going to die.
Holy shit.
But finally, like, I swallow it down, and so, like, oh my gosh!
Oh, you didn't even choke it up? You swallowed it?
No, yeah, it got lodged in there, and I couldn't. There was like nothing else to do but swallow it.
Yeah,
best I knew as a kid.
No, it's not like anybody was there gonna perform.
So finally, like, I swallow this thing down, and so I'm like, well, I'm alive, for one thing.
Oh, that's good.
And so I don't tell anybody. It's like my secret,
Until now.
Well, yeah. So the next time, as a family, we pull out this game, we're missing an orange marble. Oh. And you have to have this certain number, for this player. And
right.
So it was like a big thing that, my dad's like, the marbles got to be in the house somewhere.
Right.
And so everybody looked. And so, I don't say anything.
You're just going along with the search party.
And so as an entire family, we're searching. They were turning the whole house like upside down, like looking for this marble.
Oh, my God.
And I'm just like, oh, I can't find it here.
I'm going to go look in my room.
We can't find it.
Yeah. Big surprise.
So that's my story there. And I've told, I don't know if my dad ever found out, but I'm pretty sure I've told like my mom, my brother, and my sister.
Oh, I hope somebody's a result of this. Hears this for the first time.
I don't think I ever came clean until like I was an adult. I was like, oh, you remember that game?
I don't cross know all the way into your adulthood.
Yeah. I don't even remember what brought it up, but I mean, it's kind of like, something like we were doing just now that it's like, oh, you remember that?
Dude, that's a trip. Like, marbles have always been like a big thing in games, especially like the kiddie games for sure, but like that was more like anyone could play.
I kind of remember too that finally we like a replacement that we ended up finding like a bead. Because it had like a hole in it, like a little tiny hole, and it was a little bit bigger than the other marbles. And so
rather than the game just be ruined forever, you just find some kind of suitable shape.
We did get some kind of a suitable replacement
you get like a grape.
For it and continued playing the game after that. But yeah, the orange marble was never found.
Oh, the mystery of the orange marble is finally revealed. That's great, man. That's a great story. I don't know much about the game personally, but I can appreciate swallowing a marble. It's kind of one of those things where like a parent would warn you not to do because like don't put that in your mouth, you're going to swallow it. I have small children and I keep marbles away from her.
I was I think past that age, watching everything that I would put in my mouth, but
it's a lazy weekend day. Oh man, so is that the crux of the aggravation?
Yeah. That's it.
That's a great pick, man. If not for the game, for the story. All right, so my first game, I guess I'm going to go with a classic, Battleship.
Yeah.
Battleship is a game that you can still get to this day. I was shopping in Target yesterday, in fact, and was kind of feeling nostalgic for board games because I knew we were prepping to do this show, and Battleship is a game that I don't currently own. But I had it back in the day. Like I remember very vividly those little red and white pins. They come in the little blue clamshells, and we each got their own side. And I never cheated, but like it was one of those games that like you could very easily probably cheat.
That's what I was gonna say. You know what that reminds me of? It reminds me. We talked when we were talking about our favorite NES games, and I said Mega Man 2, and we were talking about that one time that we had spent the night at Kevin's house. And this was that same night. And at one point we were playing Battleship. And I think it was you and Kevin, were playing. And I don't remember I think it was you that was getting cheated off of. Cause
I was going to say, don't make me a liar right here on the spot.
Yeah, I think it was, because he had like one of those, it was like a mirror was like the closet door, like one of those sliding closet doors.
Yeah,
and the whole thing was just a giant mirror. And you were sitting with your back to it. And if
I could see my pieces.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was looking in the mirror.
I would have remembered if that had been me. I didn't know that.
No, I don't think
he's hitting me every time.
I don't think you were the one. You had no idea. And I was just kind of sitting there like, is he looking at Ron's board in the mirror?
Well, if he never missed, then we know the answer is yes.
I don't really remember the turnout of the game, but I just kind of remember that like, look, dude, you got a mirror right behind you.
Maybe you couldn't see exactly the letters and numbers.
Right.
I mean, for those who don't know the game, shame on you, but it's like a grid of letters and numbers, and you would just have to guess.
Because I think even seeing it, he would kind of have to. I mean, it's so small. Number one, you don't really know what rows they are, but you can kind of get
close.
You can get an idea. Yeah.
It's just like a 8x8 grid or something, right? It's not like that big of a playing field.
Yeah, so I think he could kind of get an idea of about where your ships were.
The games were usually short and a lot of fun. Any chance any opportunity had to play with those little pins kind of reminded me of a light bright or something. I really loved it. But there was an electronic version that I always really wanted that never had.
How's the electronic one work? Does it know where you've put the ships? Or?
I don't know. I never had it.
I don't know.
But I assume that it probably did have a sensor and like, I don't know if you fed it a command and it said, "You sink my battleship." But that was always the big line. Like if you, sank, I don't know if I even ever said sink my battle. I guess everyone said you sank my battleship.
It's like what you're supposed to do. Remember Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey?
Miss. B3.
Miss. C6.
Hit. Dude.
I know.
J7.
Hit. A hit. You have sunk my battleship.
Excellent!
Yeah, they're playing death. Like best 3 out of 5. Yeah, sink your battleship. It's a classic game. I always wanted the electronic battleship. It probably was nothing special. In the 80s, they always had an electronic gizmo with the classic games. It seemed like, whether it be a card shuffler, something you didn't need. But it was there, and it was like $30, $40 more, and you'd look at it and go, "Oh boy, I wonder how much better that is."
Yeah.
But I wanted to kind of cheat a little bit and give a shout out to this game that I had called Torpedo Run. And I don't know if you
I've heard the name.
It was a thing. I looked back on I was Googling Torpedo Run, thinking, did it even have like a commercial? And it did.
Yeah.
And I remember getting it as a surprise. Like it was really like a gift for no reason. My brother was working at Toys R Us, and I think they had a bunch of them. They were marked down. Yeah. For those of you who don't know, it was like this gigantic floor board game. Like you'd lay down on the floor, and it was kind of like Battleship, where you had an aircraft carrier and like submarine, whatever. But there were these little slots, where you had a little firing ship, and you'd flick a button, and it would shoot a disc out. And you were trying to land inside the slot of the enemy ship, and if you did, a little thing would pop off like battle damage, and that was kind of like to take place of the pin being on the battleship, the boats and Battleship, and you just were trying to destroy all the ships.
That sounds fun.
It was really fun. It worked really well, and it's not a game that I would want to give a whole, devote a whole pick to, but it kind of felt like gigantic Battleship. So I'll have to throw up like a video or something of it so you get an idea how it worked. But Battleship's my number one.
All right. So on to me.
It's on you.
All right. So number 2. In the spirit of marbles, I'm going to continue on with a game that I think that every child should own, and unfortunately, I never did own.
Oh,
yeah, that's
sad already.
I got my turns playing it at friends' house and whatever. But Hungry Hungry Hippo, man, I think Hungry Hungry Hippo, and I don't know if it's not really a board game, but I think it lumps in.
Oh no, it definitely lumps in.
If you want to win the game, you gotta take good aim and get the most marbles with your hippo. Playing Hungry Hungry Hippos. Hungry Hungry Hippos.
Hungry Hungry Hippos is the name of the game, and whoever hippo gets the most marbles wins.
Playing Hungry Hungry Hippos. Hungry Hungry Hippos.
I win!
Hungry Hungry Hippos from Hasbro.
But
There's no strategy involved to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so fun. The kids just beating on the tail and making the hippos eat all the marbles, and
it's the game to drive your parents crazy.
Yeah, and it goes by in seconds, and then you just load them up again and play. But
yeah, it's a classic game. I remember seeing that game to this. You can still buy it. It's another game that they still sell. Logan's got a version of it.
Yeah, and maybe if I swallowed one of those marbles, it wouldn't have been that big of a deal.
It was they're orange, so it might have fit in with that other missing piece. I was going to say, how big of a choking hazard for that would you have been? You know, if you'd had it, maybe it's a good thing you never had it.
Nick's eating all the marbles again.
You like rattle and shake when you walk. By the way, did you ever pass that marble? Do you remember?
I don't remember. I mean, I had to have. I'm sure I did.
Yeah, it didn't.
But I don't remember when it may have happened. I don't know.
You didn't hear like a tink, tink, tink going down the toilet one day. Oh man, yeah, Hungry Hippos. I agree, and it's funny that you said every kid should have that because, Liz, Laura's childhood friend, best friend, bought a bundle of games for Logan one Christmas, and he's expecting video games. He's already on the video game track. I've kind of ruined him. Where a game like a board game is no big deal, but he's still like Hungry Hippos. Yeah, he was trying to get me to play it the other day. It's an awesome game. It's it's not too hard, and you can kind of play it by yourself too if you really wanted to. Load up things like Two Tails. But yeah, man, I'm sorry you never got that as a kid.
Oh, no, I survived.
Yeah, you still made it. So on to my number 2.
Yep.
My number 2 is well, you mentioned a game that was kind of like this. Sorry. It's a game where you didn't use dice or a little popper, but you had little cards, which was kind of unique.
But I thought Sorry. Oh no, Trouble
Was the popper.
Yeah, okay.
And that was always fun to go with. But no, Sorry was the one that I liked playing because it had that you're not my best friend anymore kind of element to it, where you'd have the little like spots on the board. And if your opponent was on that colored slider, it didn't matter what color it was, but if you slid your piece over and they were in the way, then you bump them back to start, and sorry, like you'd have to do that.
Yeah,
thing.
you'd get so mad. I was almost home.
Yeah, or if that weren't enough, you drew the cards. There were sorry cards.
Yeah,
and the sorry card was even worse because you draw the card, you're like, I'm sorry. Like you gotta like pick who you're gonna get.
Right.
And then you take that piece, and ultimately you're probably, unless you're really holding a grudge and being a big asshole, you're gonna take the piece that's most close to your home. But you can hold grudges in games like that.
Yeah.
You play a little defensively. If somebody's already got their 3 pieces in home and they got that 4th one, you send them back. Don't let them win. Yeah. But yeah, Sorry was that game, and a lot of these board games are this way. Where you friend would turn against friend. It was fun, but it wasn't. It was stressful getting your little guy all the way around. But yeah, the aggravation kind of reminds me of Sorry in that way, where like I said, I don't really know much about aggravation.
Yeah,
I don't think there was any kind of else to it.
I forget all of the rules to aggravation, but I want to say that there were things that. Because there was a middle part to the board, and I feel like if you rolled the dice right, you could use that as kind of a shortcut. But you did that also with, I think it was dangerous to do that you could also get knocked out of there and be sent back home or something. And like I say, I forget the rules exactly, but...
well, it would be boring if you just went around safely.
Yeah. I mean, it had its nuances and whatever that different things. It's been so many years now. I have to look it up.
Yeah, these are again. This predates even like or competed with Atari things like that. Board games, just I don't think a lot of families get together and play a board game just as strategy.
When we were playing Aggravation, I think we were playing our Atari 2600 on a black and white TV. So
there you go.
We're
old kids. If when you were born in the 70s, which we both were, that's where you were living. That was the lane you drove in. That was board games and a black and white TV playing blocks going bloop bloop bloop.
Get off my lawn.
Yeah, right. But yeah, sorry that I just think it's funny how the game was fun, but it was also very stressful, and you would make enemies.
Yeah,
playing that game. All right, so that's my number 2.
Okay, so number 3 for me.
Number 3.
What was number 3? Number 3. Oh yes, and this is another one that still around today. I think been redone I think a few times. Operation.
Oh yeah, it's another like toy like kind of game.
Yeah, and I think though, I mean, if memory serves, that it was just even more scary. I think like when we were kids doing it, that because you got your tweezers and you gotta pull the bone, like the arm bone out or whatever, and when you hit the sides and it's like bzzz,
Oh man, that buzzer was loud.
Okay, let's operate. 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 Where's the dog?
It's Operation the Wacky Doctor's game where you're the wacky doctor. Batteries not included.
Oh, you blew it. My turn.
Take out a spare ribs for $100.
It takes a steady hand because if you touch the side...
Here goes his funny bone. Don't get nervous. I did it. That's $200.
Operation, a game from Milton Bradley.
oh man, that made you jump.
Yeah, Logan won't play it.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the games that Liz got him. Operation was one of those games.
Oh, so it's still really like that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
okay.
It's still super loud as hell.
I kind of just assumed, it's kind of been tamed a little bit.
No, not at all. It's still just as loud. And I'm kind of glad it is.
And you always felt like you were gonna get shocked too. Like,
Yeah, well, it was like I'll put the sound effect in the podcast. It's like turn your stereos down.
I mean, and it's another one too. I didn't actually own myself, but I've played my share of times.
Yeah, I think my dad had it over his place. So, like I had my turns at it, and I just remember that. There were some that weren't too hard. Like it was that like wishbone.
Yeah, there's like the wishbone.
That was the one that was really tough because it was just a little tiny opening, and of course the tweezers themselves are pretty small.
Yeah.
Or, they're small, but I mean they were about the same size as the opening, so you just went in there and you could touch it, but you couldn't. You had to like kind of move it around, but then of course, that's a good game. I remember commercials of that game. The little guy in the emergency room, and the red nose.
Well, that's that game. It's like how kids are that they it scares them, but they want to be scared too at the same time, like in a way.
It's like going to see a scary movie. You pay to go get scared.
Yeah.
And it's fun to see your friends get scared, and everybody laughs
Yeah,
till it's your turn.
That's why everybody likes it, I think.
Yeah, probably so. That's a good nostalgic game.
Yeah.
I like that. It's me, 3?
Number 3.
All right. I think I want to do, my next game is Monopoly.
Monopoly, man, the classic. How old is Monopoly?
I don't know. I'll pop it up, but it's old, man. It's got to be close to 100 years old.
And there's
It was
so
probably
many. I mean, it seems like every year. I mean, probably. I don't know. And there's just they redo it because I know recently I heard about like voting on the new.
Yeah, they retired a few pieces.
Yeah, retire tokens and what tokens should they bring in to
I think they retired the thumbnail maybe and or the thimble.
The thimble, yeah, nobody uses the thimble.
Hang on, guys, I need a piece. That's nasty. No, well, everybody wanted to be the car.
What about the iron? Nobody wants an iron.
The iron might have been the other one, but I think it's like a dinosaur now. And
I tell you what, though, if they ever take that little dog out, the little Scotty dog, there's gonna be riots in the streets, man.
Or the car.
Everybody wants the Scotty dog.
Everybody wants the Scotty dog or the car, and then anything else, like whatever.
It's like, I got the boot.
It's like an old, worn-out boot too. Like it wasn't even a good boot. But yeah, Monopoly is it has withstood the test of time, and it's become even more relevant today because
so many different themes.
Yeah, if you've got a favorite thing, there's probably a Monopoly version of it.
Yes, I mean,
if
name anything, and there's the Monopoly version.
There's a Minions version. There's probably a Happy Days version.
Oh, and there's no doubt.
And they're kind of pricey. Like Monopoly's not a cheap game.
Yeah.
And you can even get like deluxe versions of Monopoly where it's all fancy and like the hotels are much nicer looking.
Yeah. Oh, and they just swipe credit cards now, I think.
Jeez. And that's another one of those gimmicky things I was mentioning before. I want to say there was like an electronic Monopoly too. I never had that one either.
Pretty sure there is. I don't have it, but I'm pretty sure there
But
is.
I remember playing that game and never really truly playing it the way it was supposed to be played because it was such a long game.
Yeah.
And you almost had to kind of make things more interesting. I always liked being the bank guy.
Yeah.
I always just like handling that money. It was fun.
Yeah, that was always Ruth.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
For
She
our
was always.
household, yeah. She's
Yep.
the banker.
I would always call it, like playing it, not it. I'm like, I'm banker. So I think I would load people up with more money. I think I would put more money in the middle. Like you'd land on the, not free parking. Was it free parking that got you the money in the middle? Well, there was like jail, and it was like just visiting around the edge. But I want to say it was like in that area. Because you had the ghetto. Like if you look at the board, there was always those ghetto pieces.
Yeah, I forget what it was that you picked up the money and that collected in the middle there.
But
I don't know.
There was a strategy to win in that game, and most people always had their thing. Like, it's the railroads, people would say.
Yeah.
Get the railroads. I would always try to build my way up on those crappy properties as much as I could.
Yeah,
you could
I
kind
would
of
try to
nickel
do
and
that
dime
too
people.
because nobody else would buy it. And so,
Yeah, everyone's
I'll
always,
get it.
the or Boardwalk and Park Place.
I feel like I want to say too. There's one time I think I might have won because I ended up getting the monopoly on some of those, the slums, how they always called them.
Yeah.
That we did at least.
Like Baltic Avenue.
Yeah, that I actually had gotten the monopoly of those very quickly. So nobody else really had anything, and they kept landing on it. And so then I was able to build up more and more and more.
Yeah.
And I actually won a game because I don't win Monopoly very often.
Wow, you actually won a game.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I did.
Most people just quit Monopoly because if you're playing with like several people, you get a couple people that were doing really well and a handful of people that aren't doing so good. And they get out early, and you start. It's that sad like mortgaging your properties. It's a very depressing game. It's too much like life. You're mortgaging your properties, and you get to the point where there's just like there's just no way that other person can win.
When it would get to that point where you got to start mortgaging stuff, that's when I was losing interest. I was like, somebody figure this out for me. I don't even care.
Yeah, and we'd play real fast and loose too, where you'd say, I'm selling this property because you didn't like the person who was ahead. You'd give them like all your properties at some cheap price. It was just a way of ending the game fast.
we would do that just to spite whoever was winning.
And I guess you were allowed to do that in the rules. Maybe not. But you could sell the properties if you were running low on money.
Yeah, you can make deals.
You can make deals, yeah. So I'll give you Boardwalk and Park Place for $2.
Right.
Like, you son of a bitch! Why are you doing that? Just because you want to go outside and play faster?
Yeah, cause I remember my brother Mark and Eric. They would always be the hardcore, like just the mean ones, And
Leave the Monopoly board overnight because you got to go sleep, and you leave it set up. Don't touch the Monopoly board. I would never leave it overnight.
No, we never did that. I mean, we would either finish the game or just be done with it. But there would be long games, certainly.
Monopoly, when we were kids, was kind of funny too because it was the '80s was the period of like greed, lifestyles of the rich and famous. So it was very much fed into like the attitude of that time. So I assume that Monopoly had a huge boom in that area, and it just never has come down off that boom with all the licensing.
Yeah.
So, Monopoly is one of the greatest of all time. I haven't played a game of Monopoly, and I couldn't tell you how long.
Honestly, I don't even really like Monopoly because it's so long.
It is
But
long.
I own Star Wars Monopoly, Nintendo Monopoly,
It's such a cool collector's piece.
Yeah.
And the part of the fun, too, is to see what they name the properties to fit the license.
Yeah, and I think that one that I was talking about that I think I won, it was Star Wars Monopoly, and I think those slums, I think was like Hoth. And I'd gotten Hoth.
Hoth was the slums?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, man. You would think that would be like, one of the desert planets.
I may be wrong, but I think, I don't know.
I tell you what, the last Monopoly time I played it was, Laura got me the Simpsons Monopoly as a gift years ago, when they kind of kicked that off. Simpsons, I remember being one of the first ones where that became like a major trend. But, keep going, Monopoly. You'll never run out of licenses. Anytime a popular thing happens, there's going to be a Spider-Man Homecoming Monopoly. So that's my pick for number 3. I think that's my 3rd pick.
Yeah, and so on to 4?
On to 4.
Okay, so my 4th was... I'm going to say a specific one, but I also want to continue that on, that same kind of theme. But because arcades were big in the 80s, right? So
Huge.
I really remember one birthday I got the Frogger board game. So, it's of the Frogger arcade game. But it was just so memorable. I love that one. And I also tore it up and lost like all the pieces.
You were a kid.
Yeah, I was a kid.
Yeah. You don't mean to.
I don't even really remember so much how the game was played, but I just really love those arcade themed board games because that was like the start of those. That was the first one I got, and so then
it was the very first arcade port.
Yeah, because the only other arcade ports I guess were like Atari 2600. Where
oh shit! Shout out to those Coleco games though. This doesn't really fit under board games, I don't think, but those were awesome.
The Coleco, like the tabletop that looked like a little miniature arcade.
Looked like little arcades.
Yeah.
Man, we could do an appreciation show just on those. I think
definitely. Yeah. So there's a future episode. So, but yeah, because I got the Frogger board game for my birthday one year, and so then
I'd be curious to know how that worked because in the arcade had the little vehicles. Everything was everything was forcing you ahead.
Yeah,
what's forcing you ahead in the board game?
I want to say that a dice roll, you moved a lot of things at once. I think like a car might move 2 spaces or something. I'd have to look it up, like what the rules were. Because honestly, as a kid, I'm more just kind of played like they were action figures.
You pretended like it was the Frogger game.
Like it was the board game, and just kind of played with it myself.
I would have
rather than actually like playing the game as it was meant to be played. I'm sure my brother Mark would, remember rules and whatnot far better.
Well, he was a
than
little older too,
but and so there was also like the Donkey Kong board game, and
I had the Pac-Man.
Yeah, the Pac-Man, more marbles.
More marbles, yeah. Look out, Nick. I love that because
the marbles.
That game actually worked as a board game, I felt like, because you put up all the marbles in the little divots, and you had these great, like, plastic ghosts. I mean, Pac-Man.
Yeah.
And there were even, like, little ghosts.
And you'd eat them because there was, like, a hole in the bottom, and so you'd slam them on top of the marble.
Yeah, it would actually, if you put the Pac-Man over top of the marble, it would go into his belly. And there were, like, little plastic ghosts that moved around the board. I don't really remember how those worked.
Yeah, it's kind of like what I was thinking with like the cars on Frogger, that I think some kind of roll controlled them somehow. I don't know.
As kids, we probably just were like, "Oh, I'm the ghost. I'm gonna get you," and you would pretend to go around the maze. But just for picking up the marbles with the Pac-Man was genius.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, and then continued that with like the Ms. Pac-Man board game. And, there was Zaxxon. That whole line of really just arcade board games that came out in the 80s. But
Donkey Kong, we said, right?
Yeah, but Frogger just really stands out to me because it was a birthday present.
Always a special memory when you get something as a birthday present, and Frogger was awesome. That was a fun game.
I do still have what's left of it.
Can you send a picture and we'll do that thing? We'll do a whole pane of the board.
Yeah,
that'd
absolutely.
be cool.
I'll pull it out, and because I know I've still got at least one of the little frogs, and I've got like I don't think I have a car. I think the cars are lost. But
you people listening to the show really need to start watching the videos.
You know what we need to do? We need to like make a spot to where pictures can go. So the ones that are listening to the audio, there'll be a home.
Jeez, you're right. We need an Instagram account.
Yeah, we need to do that.
We'll set up an Instagram account.
We'll figure that out.
We will. That's a good point. We'll figure that out so that you folks can see what we're talking about. Because you know, like in previous episodes, I put the whole Power Glove like instruction manual like in a video, and I thought that was really cool. Yeah. But yeah, well, that's a great idea. Good job, Nick.
So number 4 for you.
Number 4 for me. Let's see. What is my number 4? I'm going back to the well on the old classics. I'm gonna go with Life.
Yeah.
The game of Life.
Yeah, we played a lot of Life. Had like the little spinner in the mountain.
That's the thing about Life that I love so much is there was so much going on with that game. you laid it out and you had to put pieces together, and it had kind of a three-dimensional kind of deal going on. So you had little mountains that you had to traverse, and you got to play with little cars and the little pins. I love the pegs, man.
Yeah.
They were like, you got a blue or a white, and you'd get married and have kids.
Yeah, get married and add another little pin.
It had another little pin.
Had a pin.
I love that game, and it's a classic game that you can just play over and over and over again, and once again, kind of fit in with the '80s. Like the destination was to get to like a mansion. I remember that being like the end goal. But life. It's a game that you could still get today. Doesn't have the crossover appeal of a Monopoly. I don't think I've ever seen a Life Star Wars version.
No, I don't think I've seen themed Lives, but yeah, I mean that was an absolute favorite of our family. That
it had the best spinner, I think, of any of the games.
One of the pegs had broken on the spinner. I think it was like between 9 and 10.
So did it always stop right there?
Well, it would just kind of stop on its own, and every once in a while, it would kind of stop like right on the line, like because it was different colors,
Spin again.
Yeah, and I think we would kind of vote and say like, oh well, it looks like it's more on that side or whatever. But
I've actually got Life in the closet over here.
Yeah.
Laura loves that game. It's her favorite board game ever. Yeah. So she would always, we play cards, like solitaire, not solitaire, but like what is it? We would always play. I don't remember, but we would always pull that out and play. So it's kind of recent in my memory playing that game too. But it had all the little I can't remember all the little spaces you land on, but it would try and tell a story. And
you'd get your job.
Oh, that's a great idea.
And you can take a different path, whether you were going to go to college or just like move on.
Yep.
And
you got your occupation real early in the game.
Yeah, if you went to college, you kind of went around a different loop, so it took a little bit longer. But when you could draw for your card or your job from different cards, then you maybe got better choices.
Yeah, just like in life.
Yeah.
So that's my number 4, Nick. What do you got for your 5?
Number 5. Yeah, so this is where I kind of cut you off before, because I kind of separated these. That there was a Super Mario Brothers board game, and I separated that because this was more of when the Nintendo Entertainment System came out. That then now there's Super Mario Brothers, The Legend of Zelda.
Oh yeah.
And when before it was kind of arcade board games. But yeah, I was always kind of a sucker for anything of like a theme of something I liked at the time.
We love video games.
Yeah, and the Super Mario board game, it was really neat because it had the board. It was like each, how Mario, like each world was kind of separated into 4 kind of segments. There was like World 1, 4, 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, and so the board game was like that, and so it had. Instead of
like each side of the board,
it was like a normal sized board, but it was perforated where they came apart to like just like these little like skinny boards, and you put them all together. I don't even really know why it was perforated. They should have just unfolded just like any other board game. I don't know why.
I guess so you could like lose pieces or break it and have to buy another one.
Yeah, I guess that's the only reason.
I don't think I've ever played this before. How did
it
handle like the Bowser element?
He was just the goal, basically. I mean, there was like Bowser, and then the princess was like behind him, and it's just whoever got there first, I think.
Could you play as Mario and Luigi? Are those the 2 players?
I think all the pieces were just pretty much Mario.
Gotcha.
You just you collected coins, and I know there were mushrooms. I'm not really sure like what they did. Like maybe they gave you more coins. I don't know. I don't remember.
I assume you still have this game too, right?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's on a shelf.
Did you have Zelda as well?
No.
I know I was a huge Zelda fan.
Yeah, I wish I did. I remember seeing the box like so many times, like at not Aladdin's Castle, that's arcade. Something to Do.
Oh, with the seal on the front.
Yeah, and
shout out to Pat. Something to Do.
Did he work there?
Are you kidding? He was like the Something to Do guy. I mean, he probably built the store, opened it up, and closed it down.
I didn't know that. No.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I would always see the Zelda game, and like there's a Ninja Turtles '80s, board game there that I always saw that kind of wanted but never got.
Yeah, I was always a sucker for those games too. Like I knew they weren't always really good games, but it lets you play as something you liked.
Yeah, and there's the real Ghostbusters board game that my friend Eric had. That was really neat. And I mean, just the box. It was like my favorite thing. Just
Made you happy.
The artwork on the box, I loved it. I mean,
Yeah.
they were all cool. I'll have to pull up some pictures of those and put them on, whatever.
Another journey into Nick's fabled museum.
Well, like, I mean, because these I don't actually have, but I'll have to look up. But like the Super Mario Brothers I have. But
Yeah, those I remember all of those games too. I don't think I actually bought them, but I have a fondness for them. Just if nothing else, seeing the box tops at the toy store, there they are. The only thing
I always love the artwork.
The artwork that's half the battle right there, man. If you got crummy artwork, you're like, nah.
I don't know how Mega Man ever lasted. That
first box.
All of them were so bad. 2, 3, they're all bad.
Well, I thought 3 was starting to seem more like the cartoony version of Mega Man, wasn't he?
None of them ever really had like the Japanese art.
Yeah.
They all like at least it's recognizable as Mega Man, but he still looks terrible.
Yeah, it's like how could they sell so many copies and not get it?
Right.
All right, so the Super Mario board game.
Yeah, so that was my 5. What's your number 5?
My number 5 is Clue.
Clue, yes.
The game that let you become a detective.
Yes.
Clue is really cool because I was a sucker for any game that gave you like little. I guess any game that gave me a weapons part of the pieces. The whole point of Clue was somebody committed a murder, and beforehand you drew a card of who it was and what they did it with and where they did it.
Colonel Mustard
With the candlestick in the study or whatever.
Yeah.
And you'd put all the little cards beforehand inside the little confidential sleeve. I loved that confidential sleeve so much. I couldn't wait to open that sucker. And you would just the game would unfold, and you would deduce at one point. After you play long enough, you would know who was the killer and what they killed him with. But
yeah, you'd have like your little your little sheet where you'd keep your notes.
Yep.
As you
would ask your questions and you
Yeah.
make your little notes. And the board was like the top-down level, or it was the top-down view of like a mansion.
Yeah.
And you remember the Clue movie?
Is it the timid Mr. Green?
Why are you screaming? Because I'm frightened of what? Screaming!
Or the militant Colonel Mustard?
If I was the killer, I would kill you next.
Huh?
Said if.
Mrs. White, who helped her husband on his way?
Well, it's a matter of life after death. Now that he's dead, I have a life.
Miss Scarlet, who's helped many men along the way?
Practice makes perfect. Huh.
Professor Plum, who's looking for a way?
I'm looking.
Mrs. Peacock?
I have absolutely no idea what we're doing here, but I am determined to enjoy myself.
Or did the butler do it?
No.
Oh, vaguely.
Yeah, that was great. It had Tim Daly was like the butler, and you had all the, of course, Colonel Mustard, and I can't remember most of the actors.
Yeah,
It was a very '80s movie.
It's funny you mentioned the Clue movie because that reminds me. We had a version of Clue. It was the VHS.
You guys had the VHS one?
We've got a VHS.
I always wanted to
Clue.
play that. How did it work?
I don't even really know. I don't remember.
Those I always suspected that those, because there was a bunch of them.
Yeah.
There were a lot of those VHS board games, or board games done to VHS.
Actually, I don't remember now whether it was like a Sherlock Holmes kind of a thing, or if it was actually Clue.
No, there was a Clue version for sure. There might have been a Sherlock Holmes also.
No, yeah, I understand that. I just can't remember which one we have because now I'm kind of picturing this green Sherlock Holmes box. Ruth would know.
Yeah,
she'd know. But yeah, I mean, I don't really remember how it was played, but I just remember that we had it.
Yeah, it was probably way too. I mean, the Clue board game itself. I was all these games I'm mentioning. I was playing like when I was like 5, 6. Yeah. So your concept of rules, you just wanted to get to the end of the game and have fun. That's what it was all about.
Ruth was the keeper of the rules.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I never. I mean, you just tell me how it's done.
Oh well, I had older brothers, so like I was lucky that they could read the instructions and kind of guide me along.
Yeah.
And even like set me up to win a few times here and there, because I have so many great memories of board games because of my brothers, and I had a babysitter at a very young age who was really big into board games. A lot like Ruth, to be honest.
Yeah.
She reminds me of Ruth, and I could picture Ruth. I don't know if Ruth ever babysat, but she would be that kind of babysitter, I'm sure.
Ruth would have to do it the correct way too.
That's fine. Yeah, I was
absolutely.
totally cool with playing it the correct way. I just didn't want to be in charge of making sure things didn't go off the rails. Because when you don't have that person to kind of guide you along, you just had to do what you did. I mean,
because like every once in a while, there is a family or whatever. This is how they play, and it's maybe bent the rules like a little bit.
True. You had to make sure like you understood that family's rules.
Yeah, and it's like, and the kids, they don't even know any different. That's how they grew up playing.
That's not how you play Monopoly. Yeah, it is. Look at the rules. That's not how I play.
Yeah, so
it's because you had a fast and loose game
that
rule
would sometimes
master.
Bring up some stuff, and it's like, no, pull out the rule book.
Yeah, and then you have to get shut down. Like, you must have another version of Monopoly. There were other versions of Monopoly. But yeah, when I think of board games in general, I just think of like being a kid and not knowing any better and just having fun with the pieces of the game, like your arcade versions of the board games. It didn't really matter if it played like a game. It just mattered that you could be Frogger.
Yeah.
Or that you could handle money in Monopoly.
Imagination.
Yeah, it really brought out the imagination. So. That's our list. Do you have any shout-outs that you can think of?
My shout-outs... what was I thinking? I think I already mentioned them because...
I feel like Checkers deserves a shout-out.
Because I kind of shouted out like that Ninja Turtles one and the Ghostbusters one.
Yeah, we cheat sometimes on our lists. But yeah, I figured Checkers deserves a shout-out.
Oh, yeah, Checkers definitely.
Everybody had Checkers. Yeah. Connect 4,
Chinese
speaking of checkers.
Oh, man, Connect 4. Yeah.
Connect 4 was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
They still make that. Logan's got it. Yahtzee was fun. Anytime you could play with dice was always a good time.
Chutes and ladders.
Uno was a lot of fun.
Card
games
game,
in general.
Though.
Yeah, card game's not a board game. That's true.
Yeah, I was already kind of talking about, which game was it that... I was saying, when I was saying Hungry Hungry Hippo may not necessarily be a board game. I think if we're going to start talking card games,
we could probably do a whole episode on card games too.
You can
and really Trivial Pursuit might fit into that too, because I had a fondness for Trivial Pursuit.
Trivial Pursuit, yeah.
Always a good one. And you could play like junior versions of Trivial Pursuit.
Yeah,
so
I always had to have like a kind of a specialized version of that, like the Disney version or something.
Totally.
I was never...
Kind of like Monopoly, they would have, if you liked a thing, there was a Trivial Pursuit version of that. Yeah. But I mean, I could sit here and do shout-outs all day long. If you guys have a board game that you remember, we're old, admittedly. If you're younger and you could think of games, like we're not really bringing a lot of newer games into... Yeah. There's like a pie in the face game now that's like real popular.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. It may be called that. It may be called something else.
I wonder, like, what do you even do on that game
I think
other than just sit in front of the thing and wonder if it's going to slap you in the face with a pie?
At Laura, she's a teacher, of course, so they have like fall festivals and things, and they'll put like the principal in that position. Yeah. So like the kids will buy the tickets, so it's just a reason to slap somebody in the face with a pie. Like you need a reason, but you can package a board game and sell it. Fine. Does it come with whipped cream or something? I don't know.
You gotta provide your own whipped cream, I'm sure.
They're in bed with the Cool Whip people. There's just tons and tons of board games. There's like the board games that like they're really specialized games that like Landon makes.
Oh, and that like Guess Who.
Oh yeah, Guess Who? That was a fun game too. I remember that.
Those little match games where you flip the card.
I almost put Stratego on my list. That was a really fun game. I loved it. Risk. People would say, "What about Risk?"
Oh, Risk. I know Eric played a lot of Risk.
Risk seemed like a game that Mark would like.
Yeah, I don't really remember Mark really ever talking about it, but I know Eric did. It seemed like one that would be too long for me to care about.
Yeah, it's another one of those things because it's attrition. You got to get down to the very last kill.
Yeah.
You know, so if you got to be patient enough to get to that last kill. So yeah, lots and lots and lots of shout outs. If you have a game that you'd like to shout out, please throw it in the comments. Maybe we'll have to do a sequel to this episode one day and give some love to the games that we just sort of grazed over, and do card, because there's a ton of card games too. All right, Nick, or as I say, the king of fighters, the Snicked. That's our episode. Thanks for joining in, and
see you next time.
See you next time.